Good morning, everybody. Hello, YouTube. This is Signet. It's Wednesday. It's 9 o'clock in the morning. 2/5/2020. We're looking for an oil report today. And so far, we've got another market that is trending. Take a real quick peek at the futures, kind of get a bit of a grip on what it is that I'm talking about when I say we're trending. You can't miss it. You don't need an indicator to tell you that we are trending. You can see it at a glance. We've had higher highs, higher lows. The market has rebounded, breaking through its expected move, and now we're pulling sideways, consolidating a bit. In the overseas news, nothing drastic is standing out, which is good. She'll be getting some PMI numbers this morning, and then oil around 10:30. We'll look to trade some oil if the opportunity presents itself, perhaps by using USO or maybe focusing on an oil company. There's certainly enough cheap ones out there that we can day trade with. Let's see what else we got. Analyst buy ratings. Work and FISV. Let's look at work. Slack Technologies. Strong push to the upside yesterday. Managed to break through this range if we look left. From there, we need to see it validate and hold the support, and then perhaps continue to run from there. You take it out to the higher time frame, you can see that structure that I was talking about, that big thrusting or engulfing candle right there. It needs to be validated today, so we need it to hold this range here. Turn that red so it makes more sense. So if you're not yet a member of the Bullish Bears, we do have a trade list that we put out every night, and then there is the morning gappers and the morning scans. So what you do is you come over to the Bullish Bears website and you go to Tools, Scanners. Let's see, we want today's. I think I missed it. There we go. This one here might not be updated yet because it's still a little early. 2/5/2020. So yes, it is already updated. This is the Trade Ideas gapping stocks. So out of the whole scanner that we have for Trade Ideas, this one is just a screenshot of the current gapped markets. So I'm going to throw that onto a side screen, and we can take a peek at some of these and maybe identify one of them that is also a low float, and maybe get some confluence between a low float and a gap where we could look for some squeeze on the short side. I love playing them squeeze trades. ABB is on there. NBR. Trying to see if I recognize any of that. The CEI, I've traded that one a few times. I like it. We're not supposed to like them, right? But we get a bias. The ones that's treated me well, they've become my good old friends, and the ones that haven't treated me well, well, I'm going to go back and kick them again, see if I can shake some money out of them at some point, because this is what we do. I see Neighbors is on the list. I worked for that company for many years, offshore, on land. That was my first drilling company. Good times. So I'll just throw this off onto another screen, and we'll kind of weed through that list a little bit. Let's go see what Neighbors is doing. May have found some support. Let's throw on a moving average and see what we get out of this. I'd really like to see a breakdown. Let's see. Yeah, like spaghetti. It's all over the place. All right, look left. What do we got? Some structure here. Good, strong, clean trend here with the linear regression. We have no snap feature for that, so that's not going to do us any good today. Let's step into the pre-market since Thinkorswim doesn't do a good job of updating the daily chart with the intraday move. So there's the gap up, 215. It's 10 cents higher than here. Sure is hard to see that. We'll just mark it like this. All right. So we get this nice clean stair stepping action, right? It's a little jagged because it's neighbors, but we're setting those lower lows. And what we want to see here is a rejection. What do we got? The 1 hour? Yeah, we could take the 1 hour. Let's see a rejection off the 50. And we really want to make sure that it doesn't break through this pivot line right there. And then trade the volatility on the way back down. If I could get a good 15, maybe 10 cents out of it, I'd be happy with it. I'm not greedy. Let's change the color so we can spot it again later on. That'll do, don't you? Oh, is there anything on the list that you guys want to take a look at? If not, I'm going to move on through the list. MYO is on the list. Oh, by the way, just to make this easier, we just go in here. And we do that. Yeah. Let's try to find some structure on this thing. Let's see. So, what do we have? A split? 130. Okay. Notice the pullback, found support. I'm good to see this right here. Our major concern now is 33.75. That's going to be our focus. That'll be a nice rejection spot or a break to new highs. So what else do we got on the list? MBRX. If you hadn't yet heard, me and Lucian are putting together a futures package. Real quick, this next level training library is the stuff that I had been working on in the last year in the options environment. My videos aren't like, well, this is a credit spread and then you buy this one and you sell that one. That's junk and nobody wants to watch a video like that. These videos are very specific trade strategies, like using an out of the money spread for an income strategy and what deltas to use and what expiration and when to roll, or legging into an iron condor so that if you're trading something like Bank of America or AMD, you can get into a $5 wide iron condor without having too much capital requirements in it because you'll leg in from one side to the other. Very specific strategies, weekly trade strategies and calendar spreads and when to get in and why to get in and what to scan for, and uh, hedge trades like the risk twist spread and the VIX volatility spread, what we call the VBS, uh, a weekly trade strategy called the PPS. So all of these videos was last year's work. We really wanted to build out the options tab, and now we're going to be focusing on the futures because last year they came out with these micros. So no PDT. They trade 22 hours a day, and they're small account friendly because of the micros. And that way, instead of trying to trade penny junk, you could trade something that when it moves, you make $5. That'd be the micro ES. Or when it moves, you make $2. $5 for a $1 move. I like that. That's a lot better than trying to trade this stuff. So we're going to be building that out more and getting traders focused on the idea that if you are limited in your capital and you're trying to day trade, why not trade something that has no PDT and is open 22 hours a day and has really good clean charts and is small account friendly, that you can grow a small account without having to get a lot of risk and without having to trade junk like this. So we got a good pop here, rejection off the 50 from yesterday. This is the daily. We start stepping in, maybe looking at a lower time frame. 114, 120. Let's flesh that out a little bit at 115. That'll do. All right, so we need to see this validation hold and maintain. If not, I'd like to hammer that thing at least maybe break with validation around the 110 level and take it back to the $1. I'd be worried about that 200 there. VVUS. Uh-huh. Concern would be to maintain the 2.9. Look for a break to previous structure. See what the higher time frame has to offer. A little bit of perspective, perhaps. On the daily, this also a rejection off the 50. I really like those rejection plays. We missed the main rejection the other day, just looking to maintain the volatility in this. What I'd like is to take an advantage and get back down to these lows if we can get it. Now, notice the two lines that I had marked was 2, 8, and 3, because what we're not seeing here on the daily is that pre-market activity. So a market that gets a rejection on the 50 while the market is open, more often than not, if it's still bullish, it will jump over it in the middle of the night when nobody's looking, right? It's that sneaky tactic, and you'll see that a lot. So the market isn't here at all. It's up here. Thinkorswim just doesn't show that. So a fade to the 50 is going to be a good play. And the way we can see that on the intraday is we go into Thinkorswim and type in daily, and we load the daily SMA, and we just set it to 50. All right, I just seen that it is a quarter after, so I need to fire up the live stream for the trading room for our Bullish Bears members. So give me just a moment while I activate the sound over there, because they've been watching but not hearing. and usually I have to reset it at least once and get it going. Good morning, everybody. I need a sound check, please. Check, check, check. Creed, what's up, pimp? How you doing? Roger, Stones, Philip. All right, good morning, everybody. This is Signet, February 5, 2020, 9:15 in the morning. I was going through the gap list from the Bullish Bears website. I've got this up on the other screen, just kind of working my way down. Seen that Neighbors was on the list. Anybody that knows me knows why I think that is funny. So just kind of working through it. Taking a peek at these penny stocks. There were a few names on there that we've seen before, old friends that come back again. Good morning, Captain. D-Guys is on there. And CEI. We're just going to have to stop right there and go look at CEI. Oh, come on now. Don't do that. Pork away. Yes. You like it. All right, look left. We had these rejections off the pivots. We've got some a little further up ahead. We've got price structure through here. Give me that. We're going to make this bold so everybody can see it. Oh, yeah, we can see that. That's the 50 off the daily. While we're at it, we'll get one more of those. So hopefully everybody was able to get day done in the pre-market. I actually got day done last night, and then this morning I was waiting for a setup and kind of messing around with a different structure on the Thinkorswim setup and watching videos, so it didn't get a morning trade in. That's okay because I'm already day done from last night's trading activity. We are sideways. The market made a pretty decent move in the overnight. The NASDAQ is up 1%, and the other three markets are up 0.8%. After a pretty good move around 4 o'clock this morning, they've ranged sideways, kind of sliding down just a little bit. I wouldn't expect a gap fill. You know what I mean? A 100-point gap fill on the futures is unrealistic. But I would not be surprised if we pull back to structure. So 9,400 is not out of the question on the NASDAQ. And for the ES, 3315 is not out of the question. We're not asking for too much out of a pullback like that. ARAY. EURN, which we've traded that before. Cody had earnings. Forward guidance must be good. Look left, got structure. Let's make sure everybody can see this. Oh yeah, you can see that. Thanks, Axel. I didn't have VWAP on my alternate screen, but that makes perfect sense that it would be VWAP. So I had already gone through and mapped out a couple of them. VVS, I want to see it um, fade back to this 50. That'd be around 266. So two ways to play it for me would be to trade it to the 50 and then trade it rebounding off the 50 on the way back up. The more I trade futures, the more I'm getting into um, that kind of trade. Last night I did my first pairs trade deliberately. I was I was long in the ES and short in the Nasdaq, and that was really cool. That was a whole new way of trading futures I had not gotten into. Uh, Arbitrage, index arbitrage in futures. Don't want to geek out on you guys. I really like the way MYO is setting up here. Not sure what to do with it yet. Yeah, the entire market is bullish, right? Here's finance. Look at finance, major gap in the overnight hours. Berkshire Hathaway, J.P. Morgan, Bank of America, USB, Citicorp, Wells Fargo, Goldman Sachs, American Express, on and on and on and on. All right, so um, there is some weakness in some of these, but for the most part, we're looking at a bullish market, and that means we would want to look for uh, pretty much anything. We can go out and we can crawl through the Dow 30 as a good place to start. And if there's nothing on there that says stay away from me, then it becomes a product that's tradable. I have found that it's easier to weed out than it is to try to find something, right? So the criteria, if it doesn't have earnings in my options cycle, if there's no massive gaps, if it hasn't gone parabolic, and if I go to the daily and I don't say, oh damn, because the chart's just that nasty looking, then I've got a tradable product. And then at that point, I can go in and start looking at the options chain. CME is a trading firm. Goldman Sachs is a trading firm. They're down a bit. Um, Credit cards. When I first started trading finance, I didn't break them apart between bonds, banks, digital credit cards, pay firms, places like that. I didn't divide finance at all. And as I've grown and as I focused on it more as a sector and as an industry, I've become more in tune to the nuances of trading finance, especially when they all begin to move in unison. If you look at something like the XLF, it really leaves you blind to what is going on overall in the financial sector, because XLF really doesn't give you the whole picture. So you can see that Visa pulled back to support into the close and has made a move pre-market. Still has to deal with structure. If we look left, we've got all of this. Start taking it out to the higher time frames, and perhaps you can see why I got into the trade at this point. So the red day, you can pretty much set that aside. That was the day that most of the market was red. Uh, we hold no bias for that. And then it rallied up off. Another way to look at this, if you go and you study hit and run trading, this is like the slingshot. We scan for the slingshot. Still got a decent IVR. Not amazing, but decent. Oh, if you guys weren't on last night, TD Ameritrade locked up. And it wasn't mine, it was system wide. People were all over Discord and on social media. It had locked down and was not working for me well over an hour, but for other people up to 30 minutes. So if you trade on TD Ameritrade, be very careful. You wouldn't want to find out that you're locked in to a trade. Oh, good deal, Bear. Thanks for sharing that. So Bear says it was just the charts that were locked up, that if you were trying to get in or out of a trade that you were able to do that. So good to know. I really like Trade of 8. I have absolutely no complaints whatsoever. And when I go to open my next account, I'll be opening another one there. I like them that much. Yes, sir. You know. All right, that's pretty much the ones on the gapper list. I can hit a couple of my own scanners real quick, but the main one that I want to check on is trending. So what we do is we come over and we type in, let's see, FinViz signals. Let's see, we got channel up, channel down, double top, multiple bottom, double bottom, head and shoulders, wedge up, trend line resistance. Yes, that one. Not seeing any name that gets my attention. All right. What's trending on stock twists? That one we'll take. So now we got the list of what is trending on stock twists. There's the bell. New Relic reacting to its earnings from yesterday. They reported last night. Yeah, ever since they got bought out by Schwab, that was kind of the game changer right there. It's like Schwab came in and gutted them, took all the good stuff, took all the stuff off their servers and everything, and took it to their own servers. So Tesla giving it back. The round numbers may provide a little bit of slowdown on that, but all I can hear in my head is Tastyworks talking about selling into strength, and that is a perfect example of the strategy in action. It's mean reversion. It has nothing to do with anything more than that. It takes energy to push a market that far away from its mean, and when that energy fades, the market more often than not rolls back in the other direction. And if you think about a rubber band, it takes energy to stretch it out, but it also builds energy into it when you do that. And so when you let go, it snaps back in the other direction. And that kind of snap activity is why we trade mean reversion. Ford still giving it weak. Speaking of snap, reacting off that 34, the big dark fat red line is a 34 from the daily, and the orange one is the 50 from the daily. Is there any particular market that you guys are interested in taking a look at? So, Z, when it comes to trading futures, most brokers run this government risk assessment oh shit formula, and they try to calculate what your risk would be if you take one contract and if they have a black swan event. And that calculation or formula is how they determine what your initial margin is going to be. And they run nightly sweeps. Well, that's expensive. If you have a small account, you can't afford $7,000 per contract, right? So there are other brokers, what we term small account brokers, like Trade-Evate or Ninja Trader. Those brokers will let you get into the futures market with a bare minimum account and a flat rate fee for the buying power per contract. And that is the one that I use is Trade-Evate. DFEN called out in the room. Major gap up, giving it back. Let's step out a little higher, see if we can get some perspective. Clearly defined market activity here. Can't miss that. So looking at that clean rejection, we are up 166. That's 1.66% that we're up in DFEN. This is a very nasty thing to trade. Be very careful with this. It is not liquid. This is a triple X leveraged product. If you don't understand what that means, walk away. Don't do it. So here we are on the weekly. What a amazing move in this thing. From last year, from the Christmas surprise, non-stop. That yellow line is linear regression, and you can see that every time it stretched beyond its mean too quickly, it would snap back. So off of these lows, we're working our way back through. If you follow the snap curve, it looks like something around 67 to 70 would be your target. As a swing trade, it might take a month to get there. Yeah, Sierra Charts links into Discord a lot, so I hear about it often, especially for AlphaBot. MYO has come up again, pressing on this pivot. In my first year of trading, I opened up over 10 brokers trying to find what would suit me. So, and now I still have, well, I still actually have almost 10 brokers. I don't use them all though, but I still, like I have Fidelity. Their research is amazing for like analyst upgrades and downgrades and that kind of stuff. I still have TD Ameritrade, Tastyworks, Robinhood, Webull. I'm still looking to open Schwab now that they bought TD Ameritrade. Come on, Thinkorswim, you can do it. Agreed. I actually was I'm struggling to get my tax papers from Ninja Trader. Well, I didn't have my company before, so the idea is that I want to open my next broker with my LLC, but when I opened them all before, I didn't have my LLC. I just got it, and I love Tastyworks. That is my options broker, hands down. I'm not going anywhere else for my options trading. PBYI bumped its head on structure, and it's breaking above that 200 moving average with strength. Yeah, there's nothing that can compete with Tastyworks, hands down. I love it. Now this would be a good trade opportunity if we could get a bull flag on this thing. My requirement for options trading might be different than your requirements for options trading. The idea that it has web-based, computer-based, mobile-based, it has standard deviation built into the options chain. You can day step, vol step, and it automatically beta weighs my portfolio, and it has built-in journaling. USO is on today's stock twists list. It's also something that we're going to be looking at when the oil report comes out. You can see it took a rejection off a structure this morning. We talk about clean price action, stair-stepping price patterns. I mean, it don't get much cleaner than that. That cyan line that you see is the 5-period moving average on the daily chart, and we finally broke through it. Test fail, test fail, test fail, broke. Need to see it hold, maybe pull back and rebound, pull a Busby. If we zoom in on this a little bit, there is our price lane. And test, 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 break. And now we want to see from the break, price come back down and validate the range and then continue to move. If you trade that pattern, it allows you to wait for verification and potentially miss those fake out breakouts. It'll avoid getting you stopped out so much. Creed's giving a shout out for a halted market. POAI. Uber has dumped to a roundy, the 38, which is also structure. You look left. Disney is still rocking and rolling from yesterday. No surprise there. Want to see some reaction with that 5. Things were looking really good for Disney 2 weeks ago, and now not on the daily, not so much. This would still be a product that I would like to do covered calls in. If I could pick up Disney for around 130, that would be really sweet. So I've been thinking about running a synthetic on that. Perhaps going out, say about 100 days and buying some calls and then coming into the lower time frames and selling calls around that 130. That would be the whole idea there is that you want to pick up the stock at 130, right? That's your goal. You actually want the stock. But until then, instead of sitting there saying, well, I'm not going to buy it until it gets to 130, you would just continue to sell covered calls. And as long as it stays above 130, you keep the premium from them calls over and over and over and over. And then the day that it finally breaks the 130 and you get the assignment, you get the shares at 130 all along. That's what you wanted to begin with. You just happened to make money while you were waiting. I did like that 50 bounce off the weekly chart. I do believe there's still strength in this market. They're still a viable company, very strong in what they do, continuing to grow. They had some issues with their Chinese parks. Of course, I think everybody that's got business in China's got issues right now, but the NASDAQ has broke roundy hard and continuing to fall. It did bounce on the 75. You got to love those quarters, man. You got to love them. But it was not followed in the Dow, at least not on my Thinkorswim, and I don't trust Thinkorswim right now. So you can see the Dow didn't participate in that move. The NASDAQ is pretty much alone in that massive move, but it's starting to get some sympathy from the Russell and the S&P. Remember that Thinkorswim will show you what markets are causing that. So if you go over to Market Watch and you turn on the Visualize tab, put it on indexes, you can pick the S&P 100. You can pick the NASDAQ 100. You can pick the Dow 30. So we can see what is beating the hell out of the NASDAQ. That would be Tesla. Dun, dun, dun. GILD is not helping anything, and neither is KLA Corporation. But the main drag on this at the moment, Take-Two Interactive and Tesla. Oh boy, Tesla is beating down the NASDAQ. Notice the money flow. We've got more advancing issues than declining issues, but we've got way more negative capital than we do positive capital. That is divergence. I've done a video on this explaining how you can use that at the bell for trading opportunities. You can trade divergent markets successfully, profitably, consistently, again and again and again and again. That's what we do. So keep your eye on the money flow. What else do we got? What is ZBH? Biomet Holdings. Earnings yesterday. So this had that rounded market through the day, dumped back to structure before the close. A lot of profit taking. Looks like it reacted to some sort of news also. Now today we need to see it maintain this new level. Axel is talking about BA. Jump over there real quick and take a peek. Yeah. BA. That's what I thought. Boeing is not a part of the NASDAQ. It would not surprise me if it's in, say, the S&P 100 or maybe even the Dow. So there's the S&P 100. There's Boeing. Ford is not doing really well, and it's in the S&P 100. But the S&P has bounced off the 3320, strong back to the upside. Looks like the NASDAQ's trying to recover too off that 75 bounce. Dow broke to the upside. The Russell's still lagging, dragging its feet. The Russell, I always compare the Russell to that untrained puppy that trips over its own feet, falls down the stairs a lot. Something that you gotta love, but you just keep shaking your head every time you look at it. That's how I think about the Russell every time I look at it. It's got such potential, and it just keeps getting in its own way. So the markets are moving in sync here with these massive thrusting candles. The NASDAQ's got quite a move in recovery. Look at the percentages to keep track of where everything is at. And remember, you can use cumulative tick. With Boeing, look left. You do have price structures back here to keep your eye on. Instead of drawing those every time, just turn on the dynamic study. That'll draw the line like that. And what else would we want on here? Dun, dun, dun. Yeah, that'll do it. VWAP. I'm sure there are other platforms that show it, but I wouldn't know which ones to point you to. There is a reason that I keep Thinkorswim around. I don't trade on it, but I do keep it around. For an analysis platform, I wouldn't want to go anywhere else. This thing typically has been very reliable in keeping my charts, keeping my settings. I've got custom studies. I'm very familiar with it. It's not that I don't like Thinkorswim anymore. It's that they got bought out and they keep doing unreliable things like freezing up last night. I couldn't use it. I was trying to trade and the charts were froze. Now I trade on Tradeovate, but when I'm trading, I look at this. And this wasn't working. And so what I typically do in my trading, I couldn't do. And I don't like that. I don't know. What about Interactive Broker? I've never used them, so I can't say one way or the other. I chose this to be my analysis platform. I dedicated a year of my life mastering this platform so that I could know it inside and out. And I'm not willing to start over somewhere else. I'll give it time. They just got bought out. They're being restructured. We'll see how it goes from there. So I don't trade stock. I trade shares only from a gamma scalp perspective. So say you buy a strangle and then you scalp shares off of your options. That would be it. Otherwise, I'd probably use Tastyworks since that's the broker I've already got. But I've got Webull too. And if I was going to trade shares of stock, Webull would be a good place to go. What's going on with Microsoft? Microsoft has pulled back to structure. Might get a little bit of a rebound opportunity there. That 181. Yes, please. Let's go take a look. Oh, I like it. I like it. All right, for those of you who follow the Twitter feed, I even remembered to sign it this time. Fire up my Tastyworks broker and get into that one before it goes away. If you find your broker complex, take the time to go to YouTube and search for videos. There are so many people out there that has covered literally any subject you could imagine. Somebody's done a video on it. When I say that I spent a year dedicated to Thinkorswim, I'm not kidding. I can code this thing. I built automated trading bots on this thing. Indicators, strategies. You can code strategies in here using the think back, using the way back, using on demand. I know this platform inside and out. I'm not interested in going to learn a new platform. But if you don't yet have an analysis platform, one, you need to find one, and then two, you need to learn it, which sucks. It's bad enough that a new trader has to learn about trading. They also have to go in and learn about their analysis platform. It's like extra work. All right, that trade that I built and posted on Twitter has a P50 of 73%. And if you don't understand POP and P50, POP is what is the probability that that trade will be profitable by 1 penny or more by expiration. P50 is what's the probability of this trade hitting 50% profit somewhere along the line between now and expiration. The POP is 56, the P50 is 73. This is what we call an aggressive credit spread. We are just at the money. Normally, people build credit spreads, they build them out of the money by quite a ways, and they aim for a more neutral position. And you absolutely could do that with Microsoft. If you want to be less aggressive, you could step out, uh, say, one deviation and take it from a wider perspective. Yep, MYO, my old friend, I seen that earlier. You'd think I would get a t-shirt for how often I played with this one last year. Notice it's at structure, by the way. The opportunity does abound. It's in an open range as well. You gotta love that open range. So if I just zoom in here and get real ugly with it, we've got our pivot high and we've got our pivot low. And there is the open range. Boy, that's loud, isn't it? Ahí está. The open range is a really good trade strategy. So we got this tiny little bull flag here. There's the pole. There's the flag. There was the break above the flagpole with no follow through. Failed. Got a rejection. So the struggle is real. All right, I got filled in Microsoft. That's what that noise was. So here you can see the Microsoft trade is live. So we checked what was trending. We checked fin signals. We can check the market on close from yesterday, see if there's any name. MA, C, Goldman Sachs. Quite a few names on this list. Top 9 sell side on close. Visa, Home Depot, Dollar General. There's one we can go take a look at. And JP Morgan, by the way. Oh, what do we got here? The range is clearly defined. Just looking for the trade opportunity. Make sure you look left, recognize that very immediate price structure. What you got there, Creed? Bloomberg was talking about those firms that have been short Tesla for the last few years, and just like they were just asking that question, like, so how's that working out for you? Yeah, they get a little sassy on there sometimes. It's subtle, but it's there. COTY has pulled back. That is a really ugly flag, but it is a flag. I would be very careful with this. We talk about having confirmation. Well, this would be one of those you want that confirmation. Oh, yeah. Yeah, if it had worked out the other way, they'd be bragging about this amazing firm that had the foresight to short such a company. One thing that they were saying that was getting my attention is Lisa Abramowitz was saying that we are witnessing the transition of Tesla from a quote car company to a quote tech company. And I thought, that's an interesting perspective. Like it was morphing. You know, you get a gremlin wet or you feed it or mogwai. You know, don't feed it after midnight. Spot still has some volatility left in it. We talk about trading a range. Algorithms love when a market is stuck in a range. So if we can get a validation back to the high, you got a tradable opportunity here. Just play ping pong with that thing. That move in trade desk was absolutely amazing. This is one of those where you run the Fibonacci in reverse. So instead of going from high to low, we go from low to high. Set it right there. We want to make sure that the pullback did not breach the 382, which it hit it, didn't breach it. And then we look for a follow through. Just makes it nice and easy. Oh, Microsoft's got calls on the volume side, huh? Imagine that. Yeah, Creed, you and I have done enough coding that you ought to know what GIGO is. Come on, Thinkorswim. Quit glitching out on my drawing tools. Charter Communications, which makes me think of CMCSA. That was getting a lot of attention in my scanners. SNES halted. That was in the gap list. If we go back up and look, it's in there somewhere. That's not the gap list. But it's in that gap picture that Dan shared from the Trade Ideas screen. So CMCSA is struggling with that 34 on the daily, and it's got the 50 underneath it. This has an opportunity for a really good play. Just got to see the follow through in it. Take it out to the larger time frame for a moment. You see this very nasty mess here. This thing is all over the place. So it took the rejection off that 34. The 50 is providing the support underneath it at the moment. You can't trust moving averages that are sideways, so keep that in mind. And we do have this gap here trying to fill the gap. The struggle is real. So this is the first test and reject, second test and reject. Tried it again, and this time, first warning, big heads up, it failed to set a matching high or a higher high. And so now everybody's watching this, looking for their opportunity to do something with it. Twitter does have earnings tomorrow. Creed is absolutely right. Wow, hey, look at that bear flag on the NASDAQ. I mean, that thing's like picture perfect. So we could, later on today, we could go in and build uh, iron condors on Twitter and see what we can come up with. It's not a big product, so depending on what the charts look like, we might run like an iron fly instead of the typical iron condor. It really just depends on the daily chart. For me, if you haven't heard me go through it, I'm more selective on my earnings plays. I have criteria that needs to be met, or I don't put on the condors. Got about a minute and 45 seconds left on this candle, and it's not looking too good. If we get a break here, we could at least get back down to the 50. All right, for all you people over there live stream, on the YouTube, quick commercial. Stop by, join up, take the 14-day trial, come into the chat room and join into the conversation. Look forward to seeing all of you there.